Okay, so today, guys, we will cover these particular topics where we will see the history of Palo Alto Firewall. Then we will see stateful inspection in Palo Alto Firewall. Then we will see SP3 is single pass software and parallel processing architecture of Palo Alto. Then we will see what are the PAN OS, what are the hardware model we are having, what are the VM series we are having, and after we will see the initial access of this device. I will also give you the overview of CLI and graphical user interface, and then we will see the packet flow into your Palo Alto firewall. So let me quickly start with the history part. So this Palo Alto firewall is introduced in 2005, and the developer of this particular firewall is the guy whose name is Nirzuk. Okay, so Nirzuk is the developer of Palo Alto firewall. So let me tell you about Nirzuk. So Nirzuk, first served with the NetScreen. So he's a tech engineer into NetScreen. He have worked there few years, and after he have switched towards the Checkpoint. Okay, so he have worked into the Checkpoint as well. Now, during the Checkpoint, when he is a part of Checkpoint, he has invented one concept which is your stateful inspection. Okay, so the developer of this stateful inspection is Nirzuk. And later on, so the thing is later on, this stateful inspection is introduced by Checkpoint in 1993. And after that, from 1994 onwards, other vendors like Cisco, they have started using this stateful inspection. So after that, actually, he has just started his own company in 2000. So he has started in 2002, but he globally introduced the Palo Alto firewall in 2005. And right now, as per the Gartner report, Palo Alto is the number one firewall due to its features and all. And it becomes so popular due to some layer 7 functionality like App ID. All these are the new features which is available during that time, and the architecture. Okay, so this is the little bit history about the Palo Alto firewall. Now we will discuss the stateful inspection. So first we will see the behavior with the stateless devices. So if you know, we do have a Cisco routers, right? Let's suppose we are having one Cisco routers. In this router, we are having one PC behind this fast 0/0 interface of this router, and this is your PC one. That PC having IP address 10.1.1.100. We do have another interface on this router. Let's suppose this is interface 0/1, and behind this interface we are having one server, and that server may be having IP address which is 20.1.1.108. This interface of router having IP address 20.1.1.1, and this interface of router having IP address 10.1.1.1. Maybe on this server what we are running web services, and generally web service runs on port number 80, which is your TCP. So let's suppose we have hosted our web server into this server. Now in router, right? Whenever we configure access list into the router, this is the perfect example of your stateless firewall. So let's suppose in this server we are having 2 GB of file. Okay, there is a one file whose size is 2 GB. Now this PC, he just want to download this particular file. So what he will do, he will just forward one request towards the router. So this is the first packet. Then what what this router do, whenever he will receive the packet into this interface, he needs to process this packet against the ingress check, right? In ingress check, what it will basically check the header is formed clearly or not. If there is any header errors, if there is a fragmentation happen, it will do the IP assembly. Then it will basically also match that particular traffic against the routing table, right? All these kind of check he needs to perform with this particular way. Let's suppose we have configured NAT on the router, then it also needs to do the NAT. It will also check the send the packet through net engine. If ACL is configured, then it will send that packet through your ACL engine. All these particular checks happens in case of router, right? Now, when all these checks is done by the router, after that it will basically put this packet into your egress state and just forward that packet towards the server. So this is the first packet, right? Now, when this server, he gives the reply, right? So this is the reply packet. This is the reply packet. So this is the reply of first packet. So first packet R, right? This is the reply of your first packet. Now, when this server basically reply, what router needs to do? Again, it will basically perform all these particular checks, right? Maybe let's suppose in case of when router processing this packet, maybe it takes around 1 second. I'm just taking one example, right? So it will needs to perform all these check every time, right? This is the first packet. Now, whenever, because this particular server, this particular PC is downloading 2 GB of file. So what? They will exchange multiple packet. This is your second packet. Again, router send all this packet through all these checks. So in case of router, there is around 27 checks happens on the firewall. Okay. In case of router, it will send the packet through 27 processes. And every packet it will need to send through all these particular checks. Right? So this is the stateless behavior. It is not basically using any kind of, it is not creating any kind of session table on the router, right? So it will not be, it will just process the packet in a fast way for the subsequent packet, right? So this is the stateless behavior, means whenever router receives a packet, it will just send, it will just send this particular packet through all these particular checks. Okay, now let's take an example of your firewall. So let's suppose we are having here firewall. Behind this, we are having same PC, PC1, having same IP address 10.1.1.100. This is firewall first interface. This firewall do have another interface which is Ethernet 1/2. Behind this interface, we do have a one server, server 1. That server also, let's say, having same IP address 20.1.1.100. This interface having IP address 20.1.1.1, and this interface having IP address 10.1.1.1. On this server, we are running web services on port 80. Let's suppose this PC also wants to download a same file of 2 GB. So what it will do, on this firewall also we have configured everything. We have enabled routing, we have enabled netting, we have configured security policies. All these things has been configured already. So now whenever this PC forward the first packet towards this firewall, firewall just process these packets against all the checks. Okay, it will just for process the packet against all the checks. What are these checks? It will basically first do the ingress check. It will put the packet into ingress state. Then it will put the packet into connection setup state. Then it will send that packet for app ID, content ID. Then it will put the packet for egress state. All these particular checks happens on the first packet. And the thing is, whenever any device try to process a packet, the main checks are your routing check, second one is your net check, and third one is your security rules check. These are the main checks which we, on which basically these devices put lots of CPU and RAM, and they need time whenever they will do the routing lookup, when they will do the net, when they will do the security policy lookup, right? This requires some time. So whenever he will set this first packet, router forward this packet into all these check, right? And whenever router process this packet, it will forward this packet towards the outside interface. And what it will do, it will also create one table which is called your session table. On this session table, what it will save? It will save the source IP, which is your 10.1.1.100. It will also save the destination IP, which is 200.1.1.100. It will also save the source port. Let's suppose source port is 1234. It's just a random value between 10242655535, and the destination port is 80. It will just save this value along with the one more value, which is protocol. So protocol number is 6. This is the layer 3 protocol number 6 for TCP. So it will just save these 5 tuples on this particular session table. Now whenever this server gives the reply, it will just bypass all these 3 checks. These are the 3 major checks it will bypass. A- Apart from these 3 checks, there is also two or 3 more checks happens, but I am not telling you that time. We will see on a packet flow. Okay, so it will bypass these particular checks, and these are the major checks, guys. And it will, when it will receive the reply, it will just match this reply on the basis of the session table, and it will just allow this traffic and forward towards the PC. Now whenever this, so this is with the first packet, right? Now whenever this server sends the second packet, because they need to download this 2 GB of file, they will exchange multiple packets. For second packet also, it will bypass this particular checks: routing, lookup, net lookup, and security policies. And these, generally these check is known as like connection setup state. So now the thing is, in this case, firewall is bypassing these check, and it is just using the information from session table. So the thing is, whenever it will use the information from session table, and whenever it will just bypass these checks, because he is having all the info already into the session table, so it will save the CPU and RAM. So that is, guys, your stateful firewall. In stateful firewall, your firewall creates one session table. On that session table, it will save the information, which is your source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol numbers. And whenever firewall have a entry of a packet into the session table, it will just bypass the connection setup state. Let me show you what are the connection setup state, guys, so you will get the proper idea. So because today we will cover the packet flow of this firewall. So if you see into this diagram, my firewall completely bypass this particular firewall session setup state or silo path. It will bypass the routing lookup, net lookup, and firewall security policies if it is having entry into the session table. We will discuss how the things is work on this way, this particular packet flow. So now you've got the idea. In stateful inspection, generally my firewall create a state table, and it will save source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol number. Okay. So the thing is, when this particular stateful inspection is developed by Nirzuk in 1993, basically due to this concept, he has changed the inspection behavior of firewall completely, and the throughput of the firewall device become very high, because they are now bypassing the connection setup state. So this is, guys, your stateful inspection. So now in interview, what they will ask people, like they will ask what is your stateful inspection and what is your stateless inspection. So you have to give the example, like whenever we configure ACL on your router, this is the example of your stateless firewall. And all the firewalls like Cisco ASA or Checkpoint or Palo Alto, Fortinet, all these firewalls are the stateful firewall. Means they will create a connection table or state table. This state table we can say, or sometime people also say this is a like session table, or sometime people say this is a connection table. All these are the same things. In Palo Alto world, the table is known as session table. In Cisco, they call it as a connection table. Okay. Now let's discuss something regarding your PAN OS and PAN hardware. After that, I will go into your SP3. So generally, Palo Alto operating system is known as Pan OS. The name of Palo Alto operating system is Pan OS. Generally, this particular Pan OS is based on CentOS Linux. So the kernel of this Pan OS is your CentOS Linux. Now, what Palo Alto have done? Palo Alto have just take the CentOS, they have just customized it, and on top of this, after customization, on top of this, they have just implemented the Pan application. And whenever they will, so the entire basically box or entire OS become your Pan operating system. So the thing is, as you know, this particular firewall operating system is based on Linux kernel. So if you want to troubleshoot the things at the kernel level, you have to know the Linux kernel details. Where, like, as you know, in Linux, basically everything runs on a process base. Like, let's suppose we are having issue with the web access of this Palo Alto firewall. We have to see are web services running properly fine or not on the Palo Alto firewall. And this particular PAN-OS use the Nginx web server. If you are not able to, let's say, SSH on your Palo Alto firewall, what you have to do? You have to check your SSHD service is running or not. We will discuss all these services, but here I am just giving the brief about them. Let's suppose you are having issue with the logging, or maybe your commit is failing, means you are not able to save your configuration. In that time, you have to see like server manager process, or in case of log, you have to see the log receiver process. All these kind of process we have to take care during that time. So this is something regarding the PAN OS of your Palo Alto firewall. Now, Palo Alto, the latest PAN-OS version is 10x series, 10.x series, but people is not using that series too much because it's have so many bugs. Right now, the stable PAN-OS version is 9.1.7, and everyone is basically migrating towards or upgrading their devices with 9.1.7. That's the most stable version till date. Okay. Now, basically in Palo Alto, we are having two products. First one is your Palo Alto firewalls, and we do have a Panorama. So generally, Panorama is a manager of your firewall. So let's suppose in your organization, if you are having, let's say, 5 location where you are having 5 Palo Alto firewall, you can able to easily manage them. Like, you can just log in on each of them and just do your configuration. Let's suppose you are having 100 plus firewalls, or a 50 plus firewall, or 1,000 plus firewalls across the globe. And now you got one job. You have to create, there are 10 rules. These 10 rules you have to create all on all these particular firewalls. How you will achieve that particular task? It is not a feasible solution. You can log in into all your 100 plus boxes and just configure these 10 rules. No, that's not a feasible solution. Or let's say you want to upgrade all of your these Palo Alto devices in one go. So what, you have to go into every firewalls and you have to upgrade it. That's not a feasible solution, means that's not a scalable solution. So if you want a scalability, what you can do, you can also go with the Panorama setup. Panorama is just a manager. From Panorama, we can manage all these particular firewall. We can configure the security policies. We can configure the net rules. We can configure the IP address. All these things we can manage easily from the Panorama. So generally, Palo Alto, that's why Palo Alto have two components. One is Palo Alto Network Firewalls, and other one is Palo Alto Panorama. Okay. Now let's discuss regarding the hardware of your Palo Alto device. So generally, Palo Alto supports all kind of hardware, like it is having a hardware for a small organization, it have a hardware model for the enterprise level customers, and it also have a hardware for the data center level customers. So the first Palo Alto hardware is your Palo Alto 200 series. This is the first model, or this generally model is for your small organization. After that, basically Palo Alto have one more series which is Palo Alto 800 series and Palo Alto 3200 series. These are the two series for your enterprise level customers. It's enterprise level customers. Apart from this, Palo Alto also have a PA 5000 series and PA 7000 series. And these particular series is for your data center level customers, where they are having dedicated devices into the data centers, because in data center the traffic volume is very high, right? So we have to put these high end boxes. So these are the few series, like in now in PA 200 we are having like PA 220. This is the main series, and in this series we do have a box. In like PA 800 series we are having PA 850, and we are also having other like PA 860. In 30 to 100 series also we are having like 30 to 20, then we are having 30 to 60. And the difference is with the hardware and RAM and the throughput. These are the main difference. Maybe on this device throughput is little bit less in comparison to this device. So we have to, when we are designing any kind of solution of an organization, we have to first see what is the throughput, what are the features we have to use on Palo Alto. Because let's suppose if we will use all the layer 7 features of your Palo Alto device, maybe they will decrease the throughput. Let's say we are using SSL decryption, we are using app ID, we are using content ID, all these features we are using, maybe throughput is little bit less in that case. So we have to basically, in that scenarios, we have to think what are the features we want to enable and what is the throughput. According to that only we will just choose our devices. So these are the something related to your hardware boxes. In Panorama, I will explain you later. In Panorama also we are having M100 series, then we are having M200 series, then we are having M500 series and M600 series. So these are the Panorama hardware devices. Apart from this hardware devices, Palo Alto do have a virtual appliance. So these virtual appliance we can install into our EXI server and all into virtualize. So Palo Alto have like VM100, then it also have VM200 series, then VM300 series. These are the virtualized devices which we generally install into our VMware infrastructure. Palo Alto do have the images which we can also install into your cloud, which is your Azure cloud or your Google cloud or your Microsoft AWS cloud. For these cloud environment also Palo Alto do have the virtual appliances. Okay. So this is something regarding the hardware model and PAN operating system details of your Palo Alto firewall. Now let's discuss the guys SP3 architecture one more time, because I have covered into demo, but I just want to discuss one more time. So first of all, SP3 is stand for single pass software and parallel processing hardware. Single pass software and parallel processing hardware. And the thing is, Palo Alto is the only device who have this kind of architecture. Other device supports the multi-pass architecture. Other device having the architecture which is your multi-pass architecture. So let me just take one image and we will see the single pass architecture and what is your parallel processing hardware. And later on, I will show you the multi-pass architecture as well. So let me just take one image. So this is the image which I will basically use for that. So generally, whenever your Palo Alto firewall receives a packet, so what Palo Alto do? Palo Alto just take a copy of this packet and forward through your networking engine. And it will send one copy of that same packet towards your app ID, user ID, and content engine. And one copy it will send through the policy engine. Means here we are having single packet, and at this point of time, we are having three replica of same packet. And all these three replica it will forward through these engines at the same time. So now policy engine basically process the packet against the policies which you have configured. Networking engine basically process the packet against the networking, which is your routing, which is your net, your quality of service, all these things done by the networking engine. And the app ID engine is responsible for identifying the app. So let's suppose the user wants to, he is just communicating with the Facebook, means my firewall app engine just identify this is the traffic for Facebook. Okay, user ID engine used for what are the policies we are using for the users. It will respond for user to IP mapping. What are the security policies we are having for users? All these things done by this user ID engine. Then we do have a content ID engine, which is responsible for your antivirus, anti-spyware, URL filtering, file policies. Means it just scan the packet against the threats and viruses. All these things done by your content ID engine. And all these three processes happening in one go. So that is the one benefit. Let's suppose this process take 1 second, or this process also take 1 second, and this entire process take 1 second. So in case of other firewall, maybe they will take 3 seconds for the configuration. But in case of Palo Alto, this particular job they will basically complete into the 1 second. So that is the benefit of your Palo Alto firewall. And this particular thing is known as your single pass software. So means Palo Alto have designed his code in such a way these three things can happen simultaneously, or we can say in parallel way. And why these things happening in a parallel way? Because Palo Alto do have a parallel processing hardware. What Palo Alto have done? Palo Alto have divided his hardware as well into two parts: control plane and data plane. And that data plane, it have divided this data plane further into three another planes, which is your networking processor, your security processor, and your signature processor. And all these particular three engines, we can say all these three processor or three engines having dedicated RAM and CPU. They are having dedicated RAM and CPU, means they don't have a resource dependency on each other. They are not having any kind of resource level dependency. Let's suppose if someone have launched any kind of attack into your networking engine, maybe let's suppose we have wrongly advertised few routes on the network, on the routing table, right? In that case, maybe your routing table flood. Or maybe let's say someone have launched any kind of ARP spoofing attack. In this case, maybe our ARP table will be full. In that case, if so, the thing is, whenever if anyone is launch any kind of attack into your networking engine, or if your networking engine is busy with some process, your security engine or content engine is not have any kind of resource dependency, so they can process the request independently. So that is your parallel processing architecture, because they are having dedicated RAM and CPU, so they can able to do all these process in one go in a parallel way. Now, if you see here, your networking engine is responsible for doing your flow control. your routing lookup, your ARP table lookup, your MAC lookup, your quality of service, your net address translation. All these things done by your networking processor. Then we have a security processor who is responsible for your session setup, SSL, IPsec, and decompression. All these jobs done by your security processor engine. Then this signature match engine is also known as your content engine, which is responsible for your IPS functionality, which is a vulnerability protection, then antivirus and anti-spyware protection, these file protection, all these comes under this particular, all are these particular jobs done by your signature match or your content engine. Now, one more benefit you will get due to this architecture, because your data plane and control plane is separate here. So means if anyone have launched any kind of DDoS attack into your data interfaces, which is into your data ports, your management port is still safe, because your management port also do have a separate RAM, CPU, and SSD, and also it is having dedicated management port and high availability ports. So it does not have any kind of resource level dependency. So if anyone have launched any kind of attack into your data plane, your control plane is still safe. You can log in into your control plane and write your policy to stop this particular attack. This is the one benefit you will get. Let's suppose your data plane is not reacting well. Maybe there is some issue with the interfaces, or maybe there is some issue with the hardware level, anything, right? In that case, maybe you need to restart your, you require a restart of your device. So the thing in Palo Alto, what you can, if you want, you can just restart data plane only. You don't need to restart the entire device. Restart the data plane, and this will basically fix your problem. And one more one benefit, if you see here, your control plane is responsible for the configuration, your logging, and your reporting. These are the three jobs is done by the control plane. Now let's suppose there is any issue with the control plane process. Maybe your log is not generating, or maybe your commit is failing. Commit generally we use for saving the configuration. Or maybe your any kind of other process, maybe you are not able to access this firewall by using web UI or by using CLI. And in that scenario, you need to restart your device. So the thing is, don't restart entire device, just restart management plane only. Or maybe you can also just restart these services as well, and you will get the benefit of it. So these are the benefit which we generally get due to this kind of architecture. So this is the parallel processing architecture of Palo Alto. Now let me show you what is the multi-pass architecture. How basically other firewalls handles the traffic when they will basically deals with the traffic. So first of all, let me just show you one design for the legacy design. So what happens? Let's suppose you are having this kind of architecture where you are having your firewall, which is your Cisco ASA. Let's suppose this is a Cisco ASA firewall. That firewall have a connectivity with your internet service provider. That internet service provider do have a connectivity with the internet. Now behind this firewall, you have your LAN network and your DMZ network. So means this LAN network and DMZ network you are having behind this particular firewall, right? Now let's suppose, because this is a Cisco ASA firewall, so on that firewall we can only able to write a rules on the basis of layer 3 information and layer 4 information. Layer 3 information includes your source IP and destination IP. Layer 4 information includes your source port and destination ports. Means we can only able to write on the basis of these layer 2, layer 3, and layer 4 information, right? Let's suppose we want some kind of layer 7 functionality, which is your, let's say we want a app ID. Means we need to write a policy on the basis of application identification. Or let's suppose we want a some solution for URL filtering. Means we want to block some URLs. Maybe we want to block all the adult sites, all the social media sites, or social networking sites. all the media streaming sites. If you want these kind of flexibility, you need a URL filtering solution, right? So what you have to do? If we talk about the Cisco, if you need a URL filtering solution, what you have to purchase one more solution, which is Cisco WSA, Web Security Appliance. If you need a application identification feature, or if you need any kind of vulnerability protection feature or an antivirus and anti-spyware protection feature, what you have to purchase one more solution, which is your NGIPS solution, Cisco NGIPS solution. So right, so what here we are doing, if we need any kind of solution, what we are just installing a dedicated hardware devices. So here we are just putting the dedicated hardware devices, right? Let's suppose now we want a one more solution, which can protect us from the malware, or we want to control over the files. Means we want to control the downloading of the files, uploading of the files. How we can control? In that case, we need one solution, which is your malware kind of solution. For that, we need to purchase one more solution, which is Cisco AMP. So what we are doing, whatever layer saying functionality we need, we have to purchase one dedicated solution for that. Now Eh, now the thing is, what happens whenever we will put these particular dedicated devices over there? So the thing is, problem is that my this firewall basically handle the traffic, so it will take some time for processing the packet. Now whenever this packet is reached to your WSA, it will also take own time for processing the packet. When this packet reaches to the AMP device, AMP also take own time for processing the packet. When this particular packet reaches to your NGIPS, NGIPS also takes own time for processing the packet. So now here we are sending the packet from multiple devices. So ultimately, when this packet go with multiple devices, it will delay, right? Because these devices process the packet, so there is a some delay. And one more thing, whenever we will put all these particular devices, we need to purchase these solutions, we have to take care of all the license details, and we also need some engineers who can manage all these solutions. So this kind of design is also become costly, right? This design become costly as well, and the throughput in this particular case is also very less. So the thing is, that is also one more reason nowadays people no- is generally use the one box solution, and Palo Alto basically is the firewall who gives all these functionality into one box only. So Palo Alto is a like one box solution for all these particular functionalities. So that is the also main reason people are migrating there, or just upgrading their old designs with the new design, or with the new firewall, which is your Palo Alto firewall. Okay, now let's see the multipass architecture, right? So now let me just go to into one of the image, and we will I will explain you that part. So if you see here, this is the same design which I have explained, where they have taken multiple solutions and all. So the thing is, if you see, whenever any other legacy firewall receives a packet, what it will do, they will first process the packet through the networking, because all these devices, they have a networking, right? They have their own routing. Then it will send, then firewall just, because this is a Cisco ASA, so it is having firewall policy. So this packet go for the firewall policies. Now again, this packet move to this device, and so here basically again networking happens, then it will go for the URL filtering. Again networking happens, and it will go for the IPS functionality, because we do have a IPS device as well. Again networking is happening, and this device go for the antivirus policies. So this is the multipass architecture, where packet is flowing in this way, going, coming back, then again going for the URL filtering, coming back, again going. So in this particular flow, you will see there is a huge delay, because this all these devices basically processing the packet repeatedly with this networking and protocol based IDs all through these particular engines and all. So this is the multi-pass kind of architecture on the other devices. Okay, so this is guys your SP3 architecture, and this is your multi-pass architecture. Now let's see the initial access. So the thing is, let me tell you what are the things you require to access the firewall initially or a first time. So let's suppose you are having this kind of design. Let's suppose you got a one Palo Alto box. This is your Palo Alto firewall. Whenever you will got this box, this firewall have a dedicated management port. And apart from this management port, it is also having one more port, which is your console port. Okay. So now let's suppose you want to access this firewall first time. How you will proceed? So you will have these two options. Either you can just start configuration by using your management port, or the second option is you can use the console port. So what happens whenever you needs to connect with your console port, you need a console cable. So this is the requirement. And when you want to connect through the management port, what you need to one, you need a simple RJ45 cable, simple cable, and connect the one port with this device and another port with your system directly. And by default on this management port, there is a one IP address is configured, which is 192.168.1.1, and the net mask is /24. So this is the default IP address which is already configured into your management port. Now the thing is, when you are connected with your this system and this system both connected with the management port, so if because the Palo Alto having IP address in this range, and that's the IP address, so in this PC you can just configure any IP address which is between 22254/24. You can configure any IP address between this range on this PC and access this firewall by using CLI. For that you have to use SHS, or just access this device by using graphical user interface, where you have to put type HTTPS colon colon double slash and IP address of this firewall 192.168.1.1. Whenever you will access this firewall by using these two things, you have to put the username and password. So default username in your Palo Alto firewall is admin, and default password is also admin. And by default, into this management port, SHS and HTTPS and ping, these three services is enabled. Means you can able to ping the management port, you can able to SHS on it, and also you can able to access by using HTTPS protocol. If you want to access this file via console, you have to take a console, connect the console with your system and just get the console access. And you have to put the username is admin and password is admin. And after you can start your configuration, configure the IP address, configure the host name, and connect. So generally, first time we will just configure everything into your management port. So whenever logging through the console, we will configure the management port with the IP address, whatever we want. And if you want, you can change the username and password, configure the host name, and connect the management port with your switch. And after that, you can access this firewall by using the IP address which you have configured into your management. So this is the way how we basically get the initial access of this device. And these are the few default settings. Default username and password is admin, and default IP address is 192.168.1.1/24, and SHS, HTTPS, and ping by default is enabled into your management port. Okay, so this is something regarding your initial access of your Palo Alto firewall. So that initial access we will see, because in next session I will show you the lab setup where we will install one Palo Alto firewall, and we will see how we will do the basic configuration by using CLI and by using graphical user interface both. Now Let's discuss the graphical user interface and CLI. So right now I'm running one Palo Alto 5 into my VMware. So I have already running it. So it is right now running. Okay. And I have also logged into this firewall by using my web UI or by using my browser. So let me just log into this firewall and I'll just go through with the different tabs which we have into this particular firewall. We will see all these setups, okay, all these things. So today I'll just give you the overview of the graphical user interface of your firewall. After that we will see the overview on CLI. Okay, so in this particular firewall, the first tab is your dashboard tab. In dashboard tab, you will see the interfaces details. You will see the resource details. Right now, my management CPU is 8% and my data plane CPU is 2%. And this is the session count. It can support up to 2,56,000 sessions. But right now, session count is 8. These are the some session system logging detail, the basic logging details. This is the admin who has logged in. This is the, so right now I have logged in into this web by using admin, and this is the IP address of my machine, and which what I have used the web client. This is the timeout and all. You can also customize this dashboard. You can click on this one, it will give you the top applications and all. So we can also able to customize it. If I click on thread logs, URL filtering logs, you will get the details. In system, you can get the high availability details and all, right? So like this also we can do the customization on our firewall as well. The second tab is your ACC tab. In this particular tab, what you will get the network activities, like what are the top 10 applications, what is the traffic, all this thing, on which country your traffic is going. All these details you will basically get into your ACC tab. This particular tab is generally used for the reporting. If you want to generate some kind of reports and all, we can basically use this particular tab. We do have a one thread activity tab, then blocked activities, tunnel activities. If we can want to add, we can also add the other tab. We can give the name and we can add them. So this is your ACC tab. And after that, basically we have our monitor tab. So in monitor tab, basically you will see log, then traffic log. So this is the basically in traffic log, you will get all kind of log of your firewall. Means whatever logs is generated, you will see all these logs into your traffic log file. So they say here you will get like what is the receive time, type, what is the source, what is the destination zone, what is the source IP address, source user, destination IP address, port numbers, all these details you will see. If you want, you can also customize that particular values. Go there and see in column you can, if you want to see other column, you can basically add these columns as well. So like this, you can also do the customization of these particular logs. After that, you will have a one more tab which is thread. So this is the particular tab where you will get the log regarding your vulnerabilities. If anyone from the outside or inside try to send any kind of vulnerable traffic, if anyone try to send any kind of antivirus or malicious traffic, you will get all these details into your thread logs. Then we do have a URL filtering log. So if we are using, let's say, URL filtering where we want to block some traffic for some URLs, you will get all these logs details into your URL tab. Let's, if you can see this log, like I have just, there's a one job search category for HR user, for sales users, I have just blocked these particular URLs. So that's why I'm getting this log into here. Username is sales. So all these details you will get, all the URL related logs you will get into your URL filtering tab. This is the place where you will get your wildfire submission logs. Then we have one more field which is data filtering logs. So if we are using data filtering, then you will see all logs into this particular place. This is for hip check. Then we have a IP tag logs. This is for user ID logs. Here you will see user IP to user mapping. All these logs you will see into this particular place. Then if we are using SSL encryption and all, the tunnel inspection, you will see all these logs into this place. Then configuration, if anyone have done any kind of config change, at what time he have done, what is the username, all these details you will see into this particular configuration logs. Now we do have a system logs. In system log, if there's any issue with the system related things, maybe let's suppose my system interface went down, my cord is power failure happens. Let's suppose this power failure happens, so there is a failure with the temperature, or that fan is not working. All these kind of logs you will see into your system logs. System related faults you will get here. Then this is for alarm. If your firewall is generating any kind of critical alarm, you will see the logs here. Then authentication related logs you will see here. Then this is the packet capture. So generally we will use this packet capture to capture the packet. So we will see how we can capture the packet during the troubleshooting sessions. And after that, we do have a like app scope where we will see all the application related summary, like top 5 bandwidth consuming sources, top 5 bandwidth consuming applications. All these details we will get into your app scope. Then we are having change monitor, thread monitor, and thread mapping. These are the thread mapping and all, right. All these details basically we will get into this particular place. Then we do have a session browser. So here you will get all your session related details. Whatever session table we have discussed, this is the place where your session table is created. And if you see here in this session table, what they have basically saved your source IP, they have saved destination IP, your port number, your source port, your destination port, and also like they have also put your zone information in case of Palo Alto. So all these details you will see into your session table. This is the like information of session where my host, which is inside network, initiating some traffic towards the destination, which is an outside, which is a public IP address or public DNS of Google. Here you will get the report regarding your botnet and all, if there is any kind of activity happens for botnet. Then we do have a PDF reports where if you want to generate the reports and all, you can basically generate from here. And after that, we do have a one more tab, which is your policies tab. In policies tab, basically, in security policies, this is the place where we will configure our rules. Means what are the traffic we want to allow from the firewall, what kind of traffic we want to deny from the firewall, what kind of traffic we want to allow, plus we want to generate the alert on the firewall. All these security rules we will configure into this particular tab. This is like similar to ACL, access control list into Cisco devices. Then this is the place where we configure our security, where we configure our net policies or network address translation. All the net related rules we will configure into this particular place. Then we have a quality of service. So if we want to configure any kind of quality of service, we will configure here. If we want to configure policy based forwarding, we will configure the PVA policies into this place. If we want to configure decryption, like, so we will configure decryption related policies here. Then we have a tunnel inspection policy. We will configure tunnel inspection policy here. Application override policies we will configure here. We want to write any kind of application override policy. So my traffic is not sent for the application identification. Then if you want any kind of authentication related policy, we can just configure here. Then we do have a DOS protection. So if we want a DDoS protection rules, we can configure here. Then after we have one object tab. In object tab, basically first place is address. So this is the place where we configure all kind of addresses. Let's say you are having 3 servers in DMZ. So you can just create DMZ server 1, define the IP address. All these details we will configure into your. So this is the place where we configure our network objects. This is the place where we configure our network object groups, where we can combine multiple IP address, multiple address object into an address group. Then we do have a regions. So if you want to configure the IP address on the geolocations and all, you can basically do that on the regions and all. Then we have applications. So right now, this is the place where we will see the application related details. And right now, my Palo Alto have a support up to 3692 applications. So this is the place where we will see what are these applications, everything we will see in details. Then we have application groups, we have application filters, then we have application services. So here, this is the place where we'll configure the service object and service object groups into this particular point of time. This is for tag and all. If you want to if you want to create a tag and all, and after we can just put this tag with our security policies, net policies, objects everywhere. And these are something regarding your security profiles, where we will see how to configure this antivirus, anti-spyware, all these particular profiles. Then we do have a log forwarding profile where we can just configure it, the log forwarding. So my firewall just forward the log towards the syslog server or a Splunk server, any kind of log server which we are having into our infrastructure. Then this is for authentication related details. Then we do have a decryption related profiles and all. And after we have a network tab. So this is the tab where we configure the interfaces related setting, means IP address on the interfaces. Then we have a zone details where we configure our zones. Palo Alto is a zone based firewall, so we will configure zone details into this particular plane. Then we will configure VLAN details here, virtual wire details here. So we can deploy Palo Alto firewall into multiple modes, like into layer 3 mode, into layer 2 mode, into virtual mode, into tap mode. We will see all these modes and what are the use case of these modes. So all these settings done by here. This virtual router is responsible for configuration of your routing into your Palo Alto firewall, where we create a virtual routers and we can configure the routing. Then we do have IPsec tunnel. So if you want to configure any kind of IPsec or VPN tunnels between two devices, we can configure the details here. We can configure IPsec tunnels here, GRE tunnels here, and if we can also use this particular firewall as a DHCP server or a DHCP relay agent or a DHCP client, we can configure this DHCP related setting into this particular place. Then this is the setting for your remote access VPN or your global protect solution of your Palo Alto. So these things we will configure into this place. And after we do have a setting for your phase 1 policies, phase 2 policies for your IPsec VPN. Then we do have a interface management profile. So generally by default on your data interfaces, ping, HTTPS, Telnet, SSL, all these services disabled. This is the by default. If you want to enable these services, you have to basically deal with your interface management profile. Then we do have a zone protection profile where we configure our zone protection. Okay, so we will see all of them in detail, so don't worry about that. Then after we do have a one device tab. In device tab, basically you will see the setup tab. Then in setup you will have a management tab. So this is the place where we configure the host name of on this device, domain name on this device, time on this device, region on this device, all these settings done by into this particular place. Then we have a panorama setting. So if we want to integrate this file with panorama, we have to configure the panorama setting here. If you want to configure banner and message detail, you can configure here. Minimum password complexity detail, you can configure here. So if you want to configure any kind of core text data forwarding and all, you can configure into this particular place. Then if you go to into operation, this is the place where we basically see the configuration, how we can how we can basically manage the configuration of this firewall, how to save this configuration, how to load this configuration, all these settings we will do into your config management. Then if you want to reboot this device or shut down this device, you can use these particular two checkbox. If you click on reboot, it will basically reboot the device. Right. Now, if you go to into your services, this is the place where we configure the DNS settings and your NTP settings. And also one more thing, if you see here, this is the Palo Alto update server where basically from where Palo Alto update his database and signature, all these details. Then we have a one interface tab where we configure our IP address on your management interface and these services on your management interface. If you want to change the MTU, all these details we will basically done through your this particular place. Then we do have a content ID, wildfire, all these things we will discuss in details. And after that, we have a one high availability tab where we will configure the HA between two devices. How we will configure, we will see everything. Then we have a config audit. This is the place if we done any kind of configuration, how we can basically make sure, how we can see what are the changes we have done. So you can just do the config auditing as well. Then we have a password profiles. This is the place where we basically use the administrator who can basically manage this firewall. So by default, there is a one admin user. If you want to add extra user, you can just add from there. Then we do have admin roles. So we will see discuss this. We will also discuss this thing. What is the use of your admin roles? So then we do have a certificate management where basically we can manage our certificates. Then we do have a server profile where we can manage our servers. If we want a syslog relationship of this device with the syslog server, we can configure the details here. If we want any kind of relationship with your NetFlow server, we can configure here. If we want to integrate this Palo Alto with the Radius server, we can configure here. If we want to configure the TechX server, you can just configure here. If you want to configure LDAP relationship or means you want to integrate this Palo Alto with the AD, you can configure these details here. This is your server profiles. This is the place where you can use add the local user ID and local users. Then this is the place in software. This is the place from where we can just download the software and we can upgrade the Palo Alto operating system. So right now, if you see in my firewall, I am running 9.0.1. If I want, I can just click on this one. 9.1.7, my download will start and I can just upgrade it. So I will show you, I will tell you what is the upgrade path and all. So if you want to just click on download, download will start. And later on, you can just upgrade it. I will tell you how you can upgrade from 9.0.1 to 9.1.7. There is some upgrade path which we need to follow. Then we have a Global Protect client details. Then we are having dynamic updates. So this is the place from where my firewall just download the antivirus signatures, application threat signatures, all of them. Then if you want to download any kind of plugins, you can download these plugins and all. Then this is the license details. If you want to do the licensing on your firewall, so you can basically do it from here. This is the license firewall, so I am able to see all these details here. This is for support related details. If you want any kind of support related settings, you can get from there. If you want to generate the support file and all, you can just generate from here. You contact with the support portal, manage the case, register the device, generate the tech support file. Generally, we have to go to support portal for generate the tech file. If we want any kind of troubleshooting from tech. In that case, they will ask this tech file, so we have to generate from here. So this is the different tab guys on your Palo Alto firewall. And right now I'm accessing this file by using the graphical user interface. Let me also access this firewall by using CLI. So I'll just put the password and I have just put the user IP address. Then I have just opened the SHS and let me just put username as admin And password is also admin. I have not changed at this password. I'm using the default password right now. So the thing is, whenever you will log in into your firewall, so you will see this particular mode. You will see this particular mode, right? So this mode is known as your operational mode. This is the operational mode where you can only able to do the some kind of operational jobs if you want to see the details. So let's suppose if you want to see the details of your device, what command you have to run? You can run this command, show system info. When you run this command, it will give you that host name of your device, IP address of your device, net mask, default gateway, all these details you will see into this particular place by running this particular command. What is the operating system you are running? All these details you will see by running this command, show system info. If you want to see the management IP address of this, you can run this command, show interface management. It will give you the management configuration of your interfaces. So in this particular place, you can only able to run, most of the cases you can able to run only your show commands. Most of the time you will run the show command. I will tell you what is the test command, what is TCP dump, everything we will see. So don't worry about that. We will see how to use this clear, how to use this delete command and all. After that, we do have one more mode, which is your configuration mode. So just type your configure, and when you will see this sign hash sign means you are in a configuration mode. And this is the place where we do all kind of configuration of your firewall. Means all the configuration we will do it from this particular mode, which is your configuration mode. So this is the like CLI access of your firewall, and this is the CLI thing. We will see all the commands and all what are the necessary command we need to run. Generally, the thing is Palo Alto, if you want to configure anything on Palo Alto, don't use CLI too much because CLI is a little bit complex. That's why, because the thing is Palo Alto GUI is a very user friendly. You can configure it by using graphical user interface, because in CLI you got always confusion because it is very complex. Okay. So now, so this is something related to your Palo Alto firewall, CLI overview, and your graphical user interface overview. We will see how we can enable all these things, so don't worry about that. Now, let's discuss the packet flow on your Palo Alto firewall, which is the last topic for today. So let me tell you. So let's suppose we are having this kind of scenario. We are having our Palo Alto firewall, PFW. This firewall have a connectivity with the server. This server is in outside network having IP address 200.1.1.1. We do have another interface, which is your Ethernet 1/2. This is your inside interface and having IP address 10.1.1.108, and this is your PC1. Okay, now this particular device, this PC wants to communicate with this server. So he will just forward the packet towards this Palo Alto forward this to this packet towards the server, right? So when Palo Alto receive this packet, what it will do, it will put this packet into your ingress process. It will put this packet into your ingress process, and in ingress process, what it will do, it will first extract the layer 2 information when it will receive the packet, right? So it will put into ingress process and extract the layer 2 information, layer 3 information, and layer 4 information. So let's suppose this PC is communicating on this server over port number 80, because this it is running web service, and this particular interface in your inside zone, and this interface in your outside zone. So the thing is, what it when it will extract this layer 2 information means your MAC addresses it will extract. It will extract the layer 3 information, so it will get the source IP and destination IP. In layer 4 information, it will get the source port and destination port number, along with the protocol number, right? It will give this information, and also by seeing, because this packet he is receiving into Ethernet 1/2, and this interface is a part of your inside zone. So it will also get the information of your inside zone. And the next check, what it will do, now when it will extract this information, and after that it will just, on this particular packet, it will just check the packet for errors. What are these errors? In layer 2 header, you have seen we are having one checksum value, right? Layer 2, at layer 2 we have to run CRC checks to check the if there is any error into your layer 2 frame. So it will just check these particular, it will run these checks, it will run the CRC check, it will check the checksum values, and just try to identify if there is any header errors. Header is fine or not. So first check, it will extract this information, then it will send that packet for the error checks. If there is any error on the packet, what my fire will drop the packet if he found any kind of header errors. Let's suppose my packet is not having any error. So after it will forward this packet for the, so after it will basically just forward this packet for the IP reassembly. In that case, let's suppose this firewall is receiving the fragmented packet. So what it needs to do, when it will receive the fragmented packet, it will just need to perform the IP reassembly. So first it will perform the IP reassembly, and after that it will perform the IP reassembly and assemble all the packets. So these are the thing it will basically do into ingress process. When these three things has been completed, it will send the packet for the, if this traffic is related to SSL VPN or IPsec VPN. It will check this traffic for these particular functionality, for these VPN functionalities. Let's suppose if this is a packet for SSL or IPsec VPN related, what it will do, it will needs to do the decryption, because this packet who is coming through SSL or IPsec tunnel is encrypted and hashed, right? Means it is hidden behind the ESP header. So what it will basically needs to decrypt it, and they need to get the actual IP header. And after when they will get this actual IP header, they will again forward this packet for the ingress check, where again they will do they will extract the layer 2, layer 3, layer 4 info, do the error check and the IP assembly, and after that they will just forward this packet for the connection table, or we can say session check, or we can say that they just match this particular traffic against your session table, because they have this information, right? So they can easily match the information into the session table. So now till this particular point of time, your ingress process has been completed, and your connection setup stage is started. So let's suppose if you see in this particular flow, this is the first packet, right? So if this is the first packet, in that case, it is not having any entry into the connection table, right? So what it will do after that, basically, when there is no entry on the connection table, my firewall basically put this packet into one more state, which is your connection setup state, or we can say session setup state, or we can say into the slow path, where, so whenever it will put this packet into the connection setup state, first check it will do, which is your routing lookup. It will just check the routing table. So in routing table, we have two conditions. If we are having policy based forwarding configuration, then it will check the PVF table, then it will check the routing table. So PVF table is having high precedent over the routing table. So when they will do the routing check, and the thing is purpose of when they will do the routing check, they just try to identify the exit interface. When routing check happens, they will send the packet for the next check, which is your net policy check, or we can say net policy evaluation. Means they will just check if there is any net rule is available on the firewall or not for this particular traffic. As you see, this traffic is going from inside towards the outside, means towards the internet. So definitely we have a pet which is port added translation configure into our firewall, right? So it will just try to evaluate the net rule. It will not do any kind of changes. It will not translate the any IP address. It will just evaluate the net rule. Now in this policy, we have two conditions. If traffic is related to your destination net, because there is a situation where destination net is happening. In that case, it will again send the packet for the routing lookup, because in case of destination check, your routing, your exit interface will change, because when your destination will change, maybe your exit interface will change. So they will do the routing lookup one more time. If this is a traffic related to your source net, then it will just go for the next check, which is your policy, which is your security rule check, security policy lookup. Now in whenever your firewall send go for the security policy lookup, it will just check the rule on the basis of source IP, destination IP, source port, destination port, and protocol number. It will just do the lookup on policy on the basis of this information. If we are having rule on the policy which is dropping the packet, it will just deny the packet right away. It will just drop the packet right away. Let's suppose my security policy is allowing this packet, which means my firewall just allow the packet, and it will just put this packet into the connection. And whenever my policy is allowing the session, allowing the packet, what it will do, my firewall just put the session information into the session table. So whenever my policy is allowed the packet, then only my firewall just create the session and install that session information into the session table. Okay. Now now the thing is, he has just installed the information into the session table. After what it will do, so now let me just write a session table. So my firewall install the session endpoint session table. Now it will forward this packet for the net translation. Means this is the place where your net basically applied. Means here this at this particular point of time your IP address will change according, or net translation will happen. After it will basically check the packet. If we have configured SSL decryption on the firewall, because nowadays all the website is uses HTTPS, right? And inside this HTTPS we can send any kind of traffic. We can send malicious content and all, and my firewall is not able to inspect it because it is in encrypted form. So so if we want to inspect the HTTPS traffic as well by the firewall, we have to enable, we have to configure something called as SSL decryption on the firewall. So now if SSL decryption is configured, my firewall just decrypt the traffic, and it will just forward the traffic for app ID, for app identification. In app identification, it will first check the app override policy. Then it will perform the app identification on the basis of signatures, on the basis of heuristic checks. We will see how app ID operates. So the thing is, it will send for app identification. Now at this particular point of time, your app identification happens. So if in our rule we are writing a rule on this application, and if my firewall is blocking the traffic for that application, it will block it. And if let's suppose my firewall is allowing this traffic for this application, so it will allow, and it will send that packet for the next check, which is your content ID check. In content ID check, it will basically check the packets against your URL filtering, against your antivirus, anti-spyware, against your file policies, against your data protection profile. All these checks done into your content ID engine. And if any kind of malicious content is detected, my firewall is block the traffic right away. It will drop the packet and generate the alert. If everything is fine, there is no content, there is no antivirus, everything is fine. In that case, after the content ID inspection, my packet is forwarded by the firewall for the egress process. Okay. Now in egress process, first my firewall basically it will do the forwarding lookup. Forwarding lookup, or this is also known as your L3 lookup. In forwarding lookup, let's say we have configured our quality of service. So it will basically match the traffic, it will just apply the quality of service policies. In forwarding lookup, it will also perform the lookup for ARP table. It will also create a IP packet. It will also basically, if there is any BPN related stuff, BPN configuration is happening, then if this traffic for BPN, it will needs to do the decryption. Not decrypt, it needs to perform the encryption for the BPN traffic. All these things done by into your egress process, where is one step which is your forwarding lookup. And after that, it will go for the L2 lookup. In L2 lookup, basically your frame has been created. Your layer 2 frame has been created where your ARP lookup is happening. So ARP lookup is not happening here. ARP lookup is happening at layer 2 level. And they will just basically when they will create a frames, and after that packet go for the into the wires. So means after that my firewall just exit out this packet through the exit interface. So this is the entire process. This is the life of a packet inside the Palo Alto machine or inside the Palo Alto firewall. So now let me just show you into this particular, maybe this particular picture clear your things in a large extent. If you see here in this picture, my Palo Alto firewall receiving a packet, and what it will do, it will just put this packet into your ingress state. And what it is doing, it is extracting the information, and after it will basically just put in doing the zone lookup. Then it will perform the IP reassembly. After it is checking the packet for the header errors. If there is any errors, it will discard it. Otherwise, it will send the packet for the firewall inspection. If inspection is applicable, then it will check the packet against the IPsec SSL BPN tunnel. If that's the traffic related to BPN, then they will do the decryption and again forward the packet for ingress process. Otherwise, they will just forward the packet for the connection lookup or a session lookup. Now in session lookup, basically, so let's say my firewall found the session. That time, whenever my firewall found the session, it will just completely bypass the session setup state. That's the state which is bypassed due to your stateful inspection. Just remember, due to your stateful inspection, that's the state which is bypass the firewall completely. And this is the main state, guys, because your routing check, your net check, or your policy check happen into this particular stage only. So let's suppose, as you know, this is the first packet, so there is no session found. So this packet go for the session setup state. And this state is also known as slow path, because here your routing lookup happens, then net lookup happens, then your firewall security policy lookup happens. And if your rule is allowing the traffic, my firewall create the session, and it will install the session into the session table. Or if rule is denying the traffic, it will just discard the packet right away. And after that, whenever he will receive the another subsequent packet, it will just bypass this slow path or connection setup state, and it will just process the packet against the first path. So maybe in interview they will ask what is slow path, what is fast path. You have to answer in this way. If there is a session already created on the firewall, then my firewall just do the first path. If there is no session on the session table, my firewall do the slow path. In slow path, it will do the it will send the packet for forwarding lookup or your routing lookup, then net policy lookup, then your security or firewall security policy lookup. So now if you see here, is this particular point of time, it will just only evaluate the net rule, and after the session creation, they will just apply the net rule in this particular point of time. Means, let's suppose uh, we have configured a net translation for this IP address, it will translate into this one. That time my IP address is translated from this to this at this particular point of time, not here. Here only they will just evaluate the net rule, and here they just apply this net rule. And after that, they will send the packet for SSL decryption if decryption is applicable, right? And after that, if app session app identification happens directly, then in that case, they will not forward the packet for the app identification. But let's suppose app is not identified, so they will this packet go for app identification, where they will check the app override policies. Then they will do the pattern based application identification. Then they will do the security policy lookup based on application, means what is the application, what are the traffic we have allowed on our security policies. All these things it will check, and it will take the action against only. So if we have drop, let's suppose there is a traffic for Google Drive, right? If we have blocked the Google Drive traffic, so that traffic is blocked at this particular level. Then your content inspection is happening, and that packet go for your content inspection. In content inspection, it will do the content inspection, and on the basis of your URL filtering profiles, your vulnerability profiles, your data protection profiles, your file profiles, all these profiles basically match in this particular place. And after that, basically, after that content inspection, whatever traffic we have decrypted here, we need to re-encrypt it, and we just forward that packet for the forwarding state or egress state, where your L3 thing happens, then your L2 processing happens, and after that this packet go into the wires. So this is the complete packet flow of your Palo Alto firewall, guys. And let me tell you, in the interview, whenever you are going for any kind of interview with Cisco, with Palo Alto firewall, they will ask what is SP3 and what is packet flow. These are the two most popular questions in interview. In every interview, everyone asks. Okay, guys.